Hello and welcome, guys. This is On Screen, Off Screen. We have one final episode for you guys this week, and we've got one topic to discuss. So, with that being said, we're going to be talking about Severance Season 2. Conlon, let's hear your totally wrong opinions.
My totally wrong opinions, huh? Okay. Um, I like the first three episodes of this show quite a bit. I thought they the timing was a lot better. I liked where the mystery was going. I thought I gotta pull up a list of the different characters. The one chubbier guy, he gets his wife to come in and he finds out that on the outside he's kind of a loser, and there's heavily implied that his wife's not happy. But you find out his backstory, you find out how he can't find a job, you find out that people are judging him because he was because he had been gone through the severance procedure,
Severed.
severed, and how he's kind of lost in the world and people look down on him and all of these different things that are involved in this procedure and part of this life. At the point you would think maybe you should stop telling people that you had this procedure so you can get a job, but that's besides the point. I liked a lot of the different characters designs and some of the choices that they made. The main character, Mark, and I find it interesting that they need him still, and I'm wondering what they need him for. What's the aspect that they need him for? What's this project, and why is he so important to it? The mystery is interesting. I like the idea of Haley and how her double life is one being very, very ingrained in the company, and this other life where she is fallen for this guy in a world that she doesn't completely understand because she's innocent. And I like the dichotomy of the innocence. One of the things I did like about episode 4 is showing them in this wilderness setting where they don't know anything. And the first time that they see fire, I like the aspects of these little psychological tests that they keep doing with these characters and how easily molded you are when you don't know anything else. This is the tallest waterfall in the world, and they don't know anything better than that. Now, why there is versions of themselves standing on top of this waterfall, I have no friggin' idea. And it's weird as hell. Episode 4 is really weird. There's a lot of aspects of this show that are really weird. Like when they go and they find the goat sheep herder people. It's weird. I like the aspect of them creating different cults or messing with people and seeing what they would be like if they were farmers or anything like that. It's a grand psychological experiment. I like those aspects. I don't know how much I like the show, but I like the aspects of the show, if that makes sense. Um, Episode 4 is just weird. It's just bizarre. And they maybe kill off a character, maybe not. And then you have Mark as the main character who is merging with his other self, maybe, kind of, and you don't really know what's going on there. And it's just bizarre. But it's not slow, which I highly appreciate. There's enough ideas that keep me invested without the part of season 1 that I hated, which was just how freaking dragged out this show could be. It feels like it's actually keeping going. It feels like it's actually trying to answer questions. It feels like it's actually trying to present new questions without wasting your time. Okay. Basic thoughts aside, what are your thoughts?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Your very first note is loved episode 4, but you've been pretty negative towards it.
Uh yeah, I don't know why I wrote that. I I loved one aspect of episode 4. I loved the idea that of innocence that was that was shown there. Um, but I don't know why I wrote I love the episode because I found the episode absolutely bizarre.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. So I watched the last, I rewatched the last 2 episodes of season 1
Okay.
and then jumped into season 2 because
Okay.
I needed to just remind myself where we were at and keep going. I didn't need to rewatch the entirety of season 1. You're right, there is some slowness to it. I think that adds to what season 1 did, but anyway,
Yeah.
remind me of all the details from season 1. Last 2 episodes of season 1 are brilliant.
They
They're
are.
amazing.
It's awesome how you can watch the first 3 episodes and then those last 2 and basically watch the whole show. It's
Nope,
crazy.
you can't. That's not how that works. Once you've already seen the show, maybe, but first watch, you should watch all of the stuff. It is important. But anyway, uh started season 2.
Yes.
Episode 1, really great.
I
Really
agree.
good. Like they're addressing it. It's really interesting with Mark's perspective on the events
Yeah.
and Helly lying and all of the things.
Yeah.
And episode 2 was really good with building on it and taking those same ideas and continuing to build with it, and paranoia and concern and trust as the main themes. Really, really good.
Yeah.
See, episode 3 was the one that everybody was like, this episode though,
Yeah.
I was not too into. Like, it was good, but it wasn't any better than episode 1 or 2.
I agree with that. But it was still
But
good.
everybody's like, whew. And then episode 4 was the new episode that everybody's like, this episode is so good.
It's
Like,
weird.
I don't know if you've seen it, but like the general thing is like episode 4 is the new top episode of this show.
Yes, I have seen that and I think it's because of the ending.
I don't think so, because
Really?
this is such a snoozer of an episode. Like, you want to talk about like filler garbage,
Interesting.
not doing anything with the show. The only person who had anything interesting happen was Helly.
What are you talking about? Like there was a what's his name?
Mark was just there.
Mark was just kind of there. But
Dylan
you
was
have
just there.
Iving? What was his
Irving
name? Irving.
Irving was just paranoid. But guess what? You already established that in the previous episodes, and you did a really good
It
job with
wasn't
it.
just paranoid. He literally he almost freezes to death and he has something happen to him where he starts to see whatever the pattern is that they've been trying to see throughout the entire show. He sees whatever that's supposed to be. Like that's not
He
nothing.
sees some floating numbers. You were curious as to what they were seeing. So tell me, Conlon, what did he see?
I don't know. I don't know what he saw. But he saw something, and you can actually see the actual change in the character from the moment before this dream vision, whatever the hell it is, to after this dream vision, whatever the hell it is. And you see a moving face within the numbers, and you wonder, what the freak is this thing? But
Okay,
you can't say that's nothing.
it is
It's
nothing, because guess what? The
eh,
most interesting thing that you were telling with Irving was that
yeah,
his Audi was having visions of Annie.
yeah.
That was your hook. That was the interesting thing with Irving, and now you're not doing that. Or maybe you will. I don't really know. But anyway, let's talk about Mark. In episode 3, you established that he is merging successfully his innie and outie.
Yeah.
How'd they address that in episode 4?
With having him switching faces between his wife and Haley.
Nope. I don't think that they did address it. Like, you're saying he has symptoms of that,
Mm-hmm.
but like, he was supposed to be bonded as one consciousness.
For a moment in time, it doesn't mean that they've permanently done that. I
That
didn't
was
get
the
that.
whole thing. That's the procedure. That's what they were doing. That's what his old friend had done, and that's what drove him crazy. Is that he was bonded, but it wasn't successfully bonded. So there
You're
was
100%
significant
right.
side effects. So he then goes through that, but then he's in this outside world and he's still just his innie. I don't really like that, and felt like it was just because they didn't really want to start telling his story of how that affects him yet.
It's
So
like
he
you
was
weren't
just
ready
it's
with the plot.
there.
That's a good
So
point.
Mark's plot is just filler. Helly is the most interesting part about episode 4, but the most interesting part about her in episode 4 is that she was pretending to be her innie.
Yeah.
Great twist. Great twist for the episode. Great twist.
Very good twist.
Did not need to be outside or have any of this other stuff happen to tell
Nope.
that part of the story. I mean, it was kind of interesting to have Irving like drowning her,
I thought that was very interesting.
but beyond that, like, what are you doing? And Dylan is literally just there for this episode. He contributes nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
He sits there and goes, "Don't do it," when he's trying to drown Helly. "Don't do it, man. Don't do it." The other characters are running around to try and save Helly's life. And he's, "Don't do it, man. You're going to regret it." And he's still just standing there. Like,
I'm wondering if there'll be more implications. I wonder if there's an implication to him reading the story, the really messed up, weird story about the founder, and what that has to do with anything. If I hope it will have something to do with something. There's a mystery there that's interesting. Um, I liked the psychological aspects of giving people treats to get certain behaviors that you want out of them, and the fact that they're innocent and you're shifting those behaviors. And you that lends itself to this rewarded behavior of being outside and being controllable.
how
Something
exactly did they earn their treat of being outside?
the treat of the marshmallows.
That was something they took away.
I
It
know
was
that's
negative
part of this.
reinforcement. That wasn't positive reinforcement.
It's partly positive reinforcement because they follow the path that they're destined to follow and what they're told to do, and they listen to the story that they're supposed to be told to do. Oh, it's supposed to be, they're following this path of the founder. That's what they're doing, and they follow this path, so they get rewarded with the marshmallows. But then they don't respect the path, so they get those marshmallows taken away.
But they didn't know the marshmallows existed beforehand, other than like being mentioned.
I know it's a gift you
So
didn't know
it's
that was
negative
coming.
reinforcement. It's one that's taken away from you. It's not positive. But
Anyway,
all that's to say, it doesn't really matter. Like, genuinely, episode 4 does not matter at all.
I think
Like, I think, like I said, Mark, they ignore him completely and just pretend like the previous episode didn't happen. Helly was kind of interesting, but did not need to take place in this scenario. Irving, they completely betrayed what was most interesting about his character. Dylan was what I was most excited for, because of exactly what you were talking about, the aspect with the wife. I
very
think it's
interesting.
my perspective was a little bit different because I think that in the first 3 episodes of season 2, it wasn't that she was unhappy. It's that when she heard him call himself a loser, she started to see it, not that she had already seen it.
That's an interesting point of
Right?
view.
From my point of view, that was her normal. And then to hear him call himself a loser for doing that, she was like, "Oh,
He is kind of a loser.
he is kind of a loser." And then I envision her doing the thing of making the comparison, which is super messed up, of like, what if I was in a relationship with this any guy rather than this Audi version? Which I think is an extremely interesting dynamic to do, even though it's super screwed up.
I agree completely.
And
I think
episode 4 is like, we're not going to talk about it.
I think they'll talk about that later in the show. That really didn't bug me, even though Dylan doesn't really do anything in this episode. He doesn't do anything. I think the whole Mark and Helly sleeping together will definitely come back. I think the aspect of the fact that he slept with the Audi instead of the innie is interesting, and
I don't think it is.
I don't like it, but it's interesting.
I don't think it is. I
Why?
think that it is more interesting that Helly, the Audi, slept with Mark more so than it is that Mark slept with the Audi.
I can see where your point is with that. The reason that I find it interesting is because the two consciousnesses are merging together, and how will that affect him when his Audi is still looking for his wife, who is somehow alive? Don't really know anything more about that. Very confusing.
Timeout.
And okay,
Irritation with season 2. They don't care.
what do you mean?
Like, it doesn't feel like they care about figuring out what's going on or about finding the wife other than in the first episode. Continue.
Wasn't the second episode where silver hair lady freaks out because he's asking her about the wife? I think it's the second episode.
And in the first episode, he's handing out signs and he's actively looking for her. In episode 2, he's dealing with the fallout from that. In episode 3, he's on his quest to merge his minds, and it's mostly the Mark and Dylan episode in episode 3.
Yeah, but which episode is the episode where he runs into what is the silverhead lady's name? You know which one I'm talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
She's driving in a car and Mark runs into her and she's like, "Have you seen my wife?" And then she's like, "Yeah, it's the last time." And then she starts freaking out. She asks about Haley and he's like, "Ah!" And then drives the car and tries to run him over. Isn't that season
You're
2?
combining 2 parts.
Oh, am
Yes,
I
it is
combining two
2.
parts?
Yeah, so you're combining the doctor lady who killed the security guard and the silver-haired lady.
And the silverhead lady. Okay, okay.
Because
The
the
doctor hair
doctor
lady is
lady,
like, last
they
time I saw her, she was alive.
she was alive. That was where that
And
happened.
then the silverhead lady is like,
Then he goes and confronts the silver-haired lady and is like, "Is she still alive?" And she takes off, and he's left without an answer. Um,
yeah, and she reacts strangely,
yeah,
to say the least.
yeah, which is super interesting. I had to
Yeah,
address it in episode 4.
I don't know. But anyway, I'm
There's
interested in
nothing in season
how
4.
those two connecting together, and you've got him who's in love with Helly, who's not really Helly that he's in love with, but kind of is. There's confusing aspect there. And you have his Audi who is still looking for his wife who is supposedly alive. And the aspect of them getting brought together with that dichotomy I find interesting from his
Yeah.
character. No?
So I think the question for you really is, what is consciousness and what is being? Is Helly, Annie, and Audi the same person, or are they different? And I know that's the greater theme of the show,
Yes.
but I think you have to define that to define if Mark is actually in love with Helly or not.
It's an interesting point of view.
Because if Mark, the Audi, is in love with the wife, and Mark, the Innie, is in love with Helly, are they the same person? Because if they are the same person, one of those is false love, right? It's not quote unquote real or true love. But if they're different people, you can. Yeah.
I would say they're different people. But what
Okay.
happens when they merge into actually one person?
Well, that's something you're gonna have to figure out, and that is a little interesting. But I find the interesting aspect way more about why this CEO, uh, sorry for the language, boss bitch, is suddenly so interested in Annie's life that she goes and pretends to be Annie her, and not just Annie her, but like get that love and affection from Mark. That is
That is
way
interesting.
more interesting to me
And it's
than
interesting.
Mark trying to figure out who he actually loves.
It's interesting how Helly, in when their moment they after they sleep together, like, I don't really like me on the outside, and that felt really real. But was that really real? Does she really not like herself? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
So that's why I think Helly's side of it is way more interesting than Mark's, because Mark's is pretty petty problem if you ask me. But
Okay.
yeah.
I get interested in that aspect of the show. Really, the one to me that was the least interesting was Irving Um, I'm hoping they do something with whatever he figured out when he almost died, because that
They're going to. He's still gonna be outie him, and outie him still has a connection to his innie self,
is self,
right? He did
which
the
the any
painting thing,
self,
which was super interesting.
which the any self figured out whatever he figured out. I don't. Do you have any ideas on what these numbers and what this project that they're trying to complete would be? I'm kind of wondering if it's some kind of telekinesis or something like that. I don't know.
I have no idea. I originally theorized that what they were actually doing was uh, separating people's memories. I thought that they were not knowingly doing this procedure on people,
Oh, okay.
right? But that was kind of just debunked in the when they actually kind of revealed how this procedure works. So that's not it. Uh, I am fairly convinced that this is the main mystery of the show, and whatever the answer they come up with, it's not going to be satisfying.
I'm kind of wondering that too. But I
Oh,
figure they
I'm pretty
have to
convinced. I'm not
connect
wondering.
it
I'm pretty convinced.
to something more less sci-fi and more fantastical, where the founder just keeps getting brought up, and the founder, every story about him is so uh like almost demonic. I'm wondering if they
Cultish. It's a cult.
change it,
The
but
whole thing is a cult.
it feels even more than just a cult. It genuinely feels like actual
Cult.
demonic spiritual aspect level craziness.
Cult.
And I
You're
don't know if they're
describing
going
a
to
cult.
do more than just cult, but actually make it fantastical in some way. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, I have no idea. Here's what we do know. Uh, or I'm pretty convinced that we know that everything else going on in the building doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Because I found
I
the
think they've
aspect of the sheep
established
people
that what
interesting.
Mark is doing, it's interesting, and it's interesting that they're there. But clearly, the people who are in charge think that
Care the
whatever
most about
Mark's
Mark.
group is doing is the most important thing and
Why
is
do
the
you
end game.
why do you think they care so much about Mark? Because they basically bring
I
everyone
don't
else
think it's
back
about.
for Mark.
So there's some really interesting aspect that is established in episode 1 of season 2,
Yeah.
and that is Mark's group is the only successful group at
Yeah.
doing this task.
But they need Mark to continue working because it wasn't they brought other people back for Mark.
Yeah,
That's pretty well
but
established.
but Mark wasn't gonna keep working unless he got his old team back.
Yeah, so they need Mark.
Yeah,
They didn't bring anybody else back. They brought back Mark. They put in extra resources for Mark. They offered him a 20% raise for Mark and
they
for his
also
Audi
offered Dylan a big raise.
because
So,
it was the only way
is
they
it
could get Mark.
Dylan? So, but like, who is the important piece? Is it
I
actually
think
Mark, or is Mark just the connecting piece to bring in the actual important piece?
I think Mark is the one that they kept in. Mark is the one they originally offered all of these extra bonuses for to keep. And then he wouldn't work. So because he wouldn't work, their reaction to that is, oh, now we have to bring back the rest of this team. That would very much say that Mark is that key piece that they need, and they just brought the others back because of whatever Mark has that they need. I just don't know what that is.
It's because he's successful.
So it's him that's successful at whatever this is that they're trying to be successful at that we don't know.
It's the numbers thing. Whatever the numbers
Whatever
thing
this thing
is,
is.
and whatever effect Mark has on it is what's important. Because you can rule out Helly.
Yep.
Helly is not the important piece, so you know it's not because Mark is connecting Helly. We know it's not Irving because in episode 4 they were willing to kill Irving.
Yep.
So it's not him, so it's Dylan or it's Mark.
But they only brought Dylan back to make Mark work.
Is that the case though? Because
I think so.
they might have been stuck, right? Because Dylan said, no, you can't go out and kidnap him and force him to come into work.
Yeah.
So, it's not as cut and dry as they offered them both raises and Mark said yes, and then they gave Dylan a bigger raise to come in. And also, Dylan had to face the rejection of society for him to decide to come back. I don't know. I think you're right. I do think it is Mark. I just say that there's also a possibility that
It's
Dylan could
Dylan.
be it because they've also established that Dylan is very successful at the numbers thing.
Whatever that is.
Yeah,
Do you think they'll show what that is in this season at
I think
all?
they have to.
Okay.
I think if you dragged this out for a season 3, it no longer becomes about this mystery and people are going to be upset about it.
I think there will definitely be a season 3. But the numbers aspect, yeah, hopefully they share what that is.
Whatever it is, it's going to be disappointing. There is no answer that they can give for the numbers thing that would make me go, "Wow, that was really great choice.
You don't think
What
that?
a
Nothing.
cool thing."
Nothing at all.
Nothing. Nothing.
Interesting.
I just think that they've built it up too much. That like every time this happens in a show, every time, Lost, Attack on Titan, this show. Anytime there's a big piece of a puzzle that is built up as much as this one, every single time the audience goes, "Wow, that answer sucked."
That's very true.
Right? So, if there's going to be a season 3, they basically have to say, "Hey audience, I know this answer sucks, but just accept it because we're more interested in telling this part of the story."
Yeah, and they could just answer that, and then season 3 can be about taking down the organization.
Yeah. Attack
And
on
that could be the
Titan
end of the
and the
show.
key to the basement. And what was in the basement,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
right?
That's most
If
shows.
they basically are like, "Hey, I know we've been building up to this for 2 seasons. Here's your crappy answer. Anyway,
Let's go on to the next one.
yeah,
And
that doesn't matter that much."
doesn't matter that much. You figured it out. You know the answer. Let's go take down the organization. Cool?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And I think that's the best way to do it at this point, honestly. And, you know, I could be wrong. I just cannot think of an answer that would make me think, good choice. Because honestly, if they're like, it's aliens, I'm going to be like, that's stupid.
It's the
If it's like,
code
it's
algorithm
the code to
that they
open
need to
up
bring the
the
devil
door to
back.
hell and Doom Guy's going to show up, I'm going to be like, cool, but dumb. It's, I don't know. I'm definitely more interested in the rest of what is going on than that actual answer because I'm fairly convinced, or I'm completely convinced that that answer is going to suck.
Fair enough. I don't know what the answer is going to be. I've tried to think about it. For some reason, I keep thinking telekinesis of some kind. Maybe it's like a training program or a way to open up the human mind to higher aspects. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
If it just basically becomes this, you unlocked 100% of your brain power, I'm going to think that's stupid.
Not like 100% of your brain power. I literally was like, you human beings have the ability to connect to something ethereal, and this is a training program to try to help people unlock that capability. Some kind of connection to whatever demon shit that Irving saw in
Dumb,
this
dumb,
last episode.
dumb,
Dom, Dom.
dumb. That sounds dumb to me.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what they do. So, are you besides this last episode? You even with this last episode, do you like this season so far, or do you not?
I don't know, because like, oh, is episodes 1, 2, and 3 as good as the last 2 episodes of season 1?
No,
No.
very few things are as good as the last two episodes of season one. Last two episodes were great, legitimately great.
Yeah. Yeah. Is episode 4 the worst episode in the entire show? Yeah.
For me, no, but that's okay. There were interesting aspects to me in episode 4 of this show. There are episodes in season 1 that they're so boring. I didn't even care.
It's
Like
just weird.
it is
Like,
weird.
the
It's
only
weird.
difference between episode 4 of season 2 and those slower episodes of season 1 is that the episodes in season 1 was slow and the episode 4 is weird.
Weird worked better for me than slow.
It's the
But
same to me. It is the same to me.
semantics, very
It's
small.
the
I don't
same
know.
to me. And it's I don't think they anything of value is going to come of episode 4. I've said
Hmm.
I believe that there's value in watching those episodes of season 1 at least once, even if you skip it on rewatches. I don't think there's any value to season 2 episode 4.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe it's possible that with the new book that they got and something happens that makes me think back to episode 4 and go, "Oh, it
That
was
actually
actually
mattered.
important. It actually did matter. I was wrong." That's definitely possible. But as it's sitting right now, I really, really don't have any value of of episode 4.
I'm wondering if there'll be some reason why they actually took them here to this. If it's just a normal cult and there's nothing supernatural, I don't really see any reason why they would have taken them to this waterfall where the founder had his story.
I
But if
think
there is
it's
something
solely to
spiritual,
manipulate Mark.
then there might be something to actually taking them this location
I think
that
it's
they could use
solely
later.
to manipulate Mark.
And that's it.
That's it. That's really truly my prediction is that all of this is just to convince Mark to finish his project,
Project, whatever that project is.
whatever it is. It really feels like we have to sell Mark that we are a different company and that Silverhair is gone.
And that's it.
We've made changes. Otherwise, he's not going to work. So what do we have to do? We have to take him outside. We have to do these things. We have to do these other things. And side note, there are some like small interactions in season 2 that really bothered me. The one that comes to mind is when the innies were like, "Hey Mark, I heard you went outside. Can you tell me what the sky's like?" I'm like, "You've seen paintings of the sky." I understand that that's not the same thing, but they talk about it like it's just an idea to them, and I'm like, "Nope, you've seen the sky.
You've seen the paintings. That's
You've seen the paintings. You know generally what the sky looks like." Anyway, side
yeah.
tangent.
I don't know. I feel like that would be way
I know that
different.
was just like filler stuff and all that kind of stuff, and it was just kind of world building, not actual
Yeah.
literal representation, but it did bother me. I don't know.
Something else I did find interesting about episode 4 is Haley when she starts making fun of the founder.
Helly.
Helly, I don't know why I keep saying Haley. Helly, when she starts making fun of the founder, was her outie self. And what is the black guy's name? Do you remember his name?
Milk something.
Anyway, he gets
Milk
really,
chick.
really mad.
Milk chip.
So
Milk chick.
was that all pre-scripted? Or was she legitimately making a founder and the founder as her outie self who knows who the founder is? And is his rage actually real or was it all just a stage? I don't know.
Okay, so the question becomes, how involved are they? Do
I would
you believe
assume that
Helly,
Helly.
the Audi, is so? Really quick, let me just pre-establish. Let's say that this is just a cult.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Just a
just a
normal
cult.
cult.
Just
Just a
just a
normal cult.
normal cult, very cultish. That we can say it. It's a cult of some kind.
Yeah.
It's a cult. Okay, is Helly bought in on the cult?
Um,
Is she a believer? Let me put it that. Is she a believer?
I don't know.
I would say no. I don't think so. She acts
Uh,
more like a CEO and a manipulator than somebody who actually believes in
the
the
cult.
founder's vision. Like she's never, her Audi stuff itself has never portrayed that. It's very business like. It's very
Very crunch the numbers. This
CEO.
is needs to get done.
Yep.
This
Financial
is the deal that we're
benefits.
giving you.
Yep.
All that kind of
Yep.
stuff when she's
She
dealing
does
with
not
long,
bought
a white
in.
haired
Yeah.
lady.
Not bought in. Yeah. Uh, Milchick, however, is not severed and seems to be pretty bought in.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
he would believe that Helly the Audi is all powerful, all knowing cult leader.
Yeah,
So his rage towards her, laughing at the teaching he gets from her, would cause real rage.
that's a fair enough
Right? So
assessment.
my perspective on that whole thing was Helly the Audi seeing the manipulation of the cult teachings in person shocked her and made her laugh. And so he got mad.
That is a fair assessment. That is a fair assessment because he does seem pretty bought in. It seems like she would understand how the cult like behavior affected her with how high of a position she has in this organization, affected other people with how high of a position
Yeah,
she has.
absolutely. But there's a big difference between seeing it and experiencing it and knowing it,
That's true. That's true.
right? Like we as humans have experienced that kind of stuff all the time where you know, but when you actually hear it out loud, you just go, that sounds ridiculous. And you laugh at it. Right. And so
Yeah.
she, a knowing person, goes into it,
And laugh.
has this guy give one of his lines about the glory of the founder. And she just like laughs at it. You're like, oh, that's funny how stupid that sounds. When you're a part of it, you buy in. And I think Milkcheck is bought in. I think Silver Held Lady is bought in. In fact, it's pretty well established she's bought in because she has a shrine to the founder in her personal home. Right?
But Helly,
So,
not necessarily.
but Helly is not necessarily bought in. She's running it. Her dad was one of the founders of it, but she might know that it's all BS to get a certain outcome, whatever that outcome with the numbers is.
Especially where her dad was a founder and she knows that he was not some kind of god. He was just her dad.
Yeah. But her dad wasn't the founder.
Was I know, but he was a founder, right?
He was Egan, the
Yeah.
brother of the founder.
Yeah.
They haven't really established what that really means in the context of the story, just that he exists.
And the story that they tell in episode 4 is that the brother that the story is about? I actually
Yeah,
didn't realize that. Okay, I didn't realize that.
yeah. So it's just establishing that, like, hey, the founder had a brother. Gotcha. Here's his writings. You gotta go find it.
And here's the daughter of that brother.
Yeah. It was, anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So how excited are you for episode 5? Let's end with that.
I am I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I think there are quite a few things in episode 4 that, like I've said, have interesting aspects to me, even though it was very weird. And as long as they keep up the pace, I'm interested enough in a lot of the aspects of the show to keep me engaged and keep me coming for more. That's where I am. Where are you?
Just a little bit less than that. Um,
Okay.
I was way more interested going from episode 3 to episode 4 than I will
Okay.
be from 4 to 5. I know I've been pretty down on 4, but it's not so terribly off brand or bad that it has ruined my interest in the show.
Okay.
So I will watch episode 5. I'm not necessarily like, I'm going to hop on that as soon as I possibly can. As soon as it's released, I'm going to be watching. I'm more like, I'll watch it before our episode next week.
Okay. But that's about it.
Yeah.
But at episode 4, where you're like, yes, I just need to watch episode 4.
After season 1 finale, even the second time watching it, I was like, get me to the next one. Yes. And then episode 1 and 2, I'm like, okay, they're starting to give you hints of answers.
Yep.
They're starting to actually give you a little spice of that answer. And I was so excited. In episode 3, I was like, come on. But then they did merge Mark, and I was like, okay, I'm really excited on how that's going to play out. I'm still a little irritated that they've kind of, the characters no longer seem to care about the wife or about what the greater thing is that they're doing there is. But I've got this new aspect to play. Here we go. Episode 4. Oh, what the crap is this? Okay. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool. I think with that, that's the end of our episode. If you guys have watched Severance, leave your comments down below. What did you think of episode 4? Most people love it. My brother-in-law absolutely loved this episode. Let us know what you think. We appreciate you guys watching. See ya.
Bye.